Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. We're going to talk about why Bitcoin is dumping today, why altcoins seem to be dumping even harder, and also when are things going to start turning around. Now, I'm going to assume that Ripple wins the lawsuit because if they don't, then altcoins are going to kind of like die, at least in the United States. But let's talk about Bitcoin. The reason it's dumping today is because of what Jerome Powell said about the Fed a while ago or yesterday after he actually announced the rates. The 50 basis point rise was very much expected. So that really didn't change anything. But what he said afterward actually did change things because their original target was like 4.5, 4.75. And the current interest rate is at 4.25 to 4.5. And people thought that they might actually start pivoting. But because inflation's still at 7.1, they raised the target interest rate to 5.1, which means 3 more interest rate hikes of 0.25. And that actually caused the market to dump because, delayed pivot means that interest rates goes higher, which is generally a bad sign for the market. Now, I do think we will start to turn around probably mid this year, around June or July. And that's because there's three FOMC meetings. One end of January, one end of March, one end of May, and I expect 3 25-point percentage hikes on each of them, and that will put us in a range of 5.0 to 5.25 in terms of interest rate, and that will be their target rate, assuming that they don't move up the target rate. I expect by then that inflation will be down to about 5 or 4, and they won't really need to raise it anymore over that. And I think they'll actually keep those rates. Now, the fact that they just keep those rates doesn't mean they're decreasing them. I don't think they'll really decrease the rates until we get to 3 or 2. But the fact that they stop raising interest rates will have a dramatic effect. And I think like May is the last time they'll actually raise, which means the second half of next year when they have the FOMC meetings, they'll probably just keep them constant or maybe even decrease them. Generally, when they start pivoting, it takes another month or two for the stock market to bottom. So we actually might be bottoming in the stock market maybe around July of next year. I think crypto's gonna kind of move like that, but once they really peter off on the interest rate hikes, I do think Bitcoin's gonna basically front run the stock market in going back up, especially as we get closer to halving. So I kind of expect crypto to kind of basically flatline for the first 6 months of next year. I don't know if the market's really going to get too much below 30,000, maybe like 29, 28,000, something like that before coming back up. And I do expect hopefully the Russian war to start wrapping up sometime next year. So realistically, I expect Bitcoin to coast, assuming we don't have another dramatic drop, collapse, or explosion of another company like Binance or Tether. I expect it to kind of coast until maybe around June of next year. Then I expect it to start slowly recovering, not bull run, but slowly recovering. So that's what I have in terms of Bitcoin. In terms of altcoins, I expect them to bleed from Bitcoin. I expect Bitcoin dominance to go up at least until the end of March. And that's because of the Ripple case. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the whole Ripple case. And people are afraid that alts are going to be declared securities. Now, the CFTC has changed its stance once again because a few weeks ago, they agreed with the SEC that everything was a security besides Bitcoin, but now they've also declared Ethereum once again a commodity. So if Ethereum is a commodity, I think all L1s will need to be a commodity as well. And if that's the case, after March, if Ripple wins a lawsuit or if Ethereum is declared as a commodity, I do kind of expect some of the alts to start coming up coming up against Bitcoin March, April, May. Now, if they lose the lawsuit and everything's security, I expect them to continue bleeding. But the thing is, if L1s are declared commodities, let's say, I do expect alts to start coming up against Bitcoin in March, April, May, June. They really won't really start to come up until Bitcoin starts to come up as we get closer to the halving, with the exception of Litecoin. Litecoin will probably come up first half of next year as we get close to its halving in August. And that's because it did that last time, so I'm kind of expecting that again. Also, I don't think the SEC would actually go after Litecoin because A, there's no one to go after, and B, Litecoin kind of follows the same thing as Bitcoin, whereas there's not really a pre-mine and it's proof of work. So I do expect them to declare it a commodity as well. So altcoins depends on the Ripple case. If Ripple actually wins, I expect altcoins to come up starting in early April. If Ripple loses, I expect them to continue to bleed out. But as for Bitcoin itself, I do expect it to flatline unless something else blows up until about June or July. And then I expect it to start recovering. So that's kind of like my view on things. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.